Fairy Tales. 6. Rapunzel. A long, long time ago, there was a couple who had been married for many years, but never had any children. Next door to their home lived a witch. Her magic power is strong, everyone is afraid of her. The witch's house had a garden full of exotic flowers and plants, and the wind blowing through the garden would carry a wonderful fragrance. There are also a lot of tender and green vegetables planted inside, especially the full lettuce. Imagine how sweet it will be to eat. The couple's house next door is facing the wonderful garden from the window. The wife can see the appetizing lettuce when she cooks in the kitchen every day. The wife especially likes to eat vegetables, but this small town is in the wilderness. Vegetables are very expensive food. The couple's family is very poor, and the top of the table is the wild vegetables picked from the mountains. The witch's green lettuce is a dream food for them. The desire to see and not to eat kept tormenting her, and she became more and more miserable every day, and became more and more haggard. Even her face became pale. Her husband was horrified and asked her what was going on. Finally one day, the wife could not help but tell her husband the pain in her heart. Looking at such a sad wife, the husband thought, maybe eat once that looks very delicious lettuce, the wife will get better. But they really could not afford to buy expensive vegetables, so the husband observed the witch for a few days. He found that she sometimes harvested some vegetables to sell in faraway places during the day, and would be away from home for a long time. So one day when the witch was not at home, he sneaked into the garden next door and picked a most insignificant lettuce home. The wife saw her husband bring back a fresh lettuce, and immediately picked it up and washed it into a salad. They cannot wait to eat a bite, found that the taste is really good, they have never eaten a delicious, they are very happy. But after tasting this delicious, whenever they see the garden next door, they cannot help drooling, but want to eat lettuce again. In order to satisfy their cravings, they decided to steal one more to eat. So one day the husband sneaked into the garden next door again. He picked the most delicious looking lettuce, just turned around to leave when the witch unexpectedly came back early and is now standing behind him. The witch was furious and said to the man, "How dare you come to steal my lettuce? Do you know how much time and effort it takes me to grow a lettuce?" The man was scared and guilty. The man apologized to the witch with fear and guilt, and told her that it was his wife and himself who wanted to eat the delicious vegetables too much, and asked the witch to forgive them. The witch listened to the man's apology, thought for a moment and said, "If you really want to eat my vegetables so much, just promise me a request, let you pick as much as you want to eat. That is, the first child you have in the future will be given to me, so that she can keep me company." The man thought about it and agreed to this condition, and the witch agreed that they could come to the garden to pluck vegetables at any time. Not long after, the man's wife gave birth to a baby girl. The witch immediately came to the couple's home to take the baby away, and named it Rapunzel. Rapunzel grows up under the careful support of the witch. The witch wants her to call herself Mother Got Hell. The witch gave Rapunzel to eat the best food, so that she grew up beautiful and healthy. especially her particularly long blonde hair, smooth, strong and thick, very striking. The witch is always worried that when she goes out, Rapunzel is not safe at home by herself. So when Rapunzel was 12 years old, she decided to move to live in a high tower deep in the nearby forest. The forest is sparsely populated, and this tower has no door, only a small window to enter and exit. The witch felt that living here would give Rapunzel a safe life. And every time she wants to enter and leave the tower, she will ask Rapunzel to fix her hair on the hook next to the window, and then hang down the long hair from the window, and use the long hair as a rope. Rapunzel and Mother Gothel lived in the tower for 4-5 years. The days were happy, but also a little boring. Especially when Mother Gothel was away, she could only look out of the window and sing. Her singing was so beautiful that even the birds would fly over to listen to her. Singing and playing with the birds is the most interesting thing that Rapunzel can do in her spare time. One day, a prince was riding through the forest when he heard a singing sound from afar. He was curious and went to the sound and found a high tower. Then the song stopped. The prince was a little reluctant to find the entrance to the tower, but could not enter the door, so he had to go back to the palace in silence. But the mysterious song has attracted the attention of the prince. He would deliberately ride his horse through the forest every day. He stopped near the tower to listen to the beautiful song. The prince's heart was gradually moved, and he wanted to meet the owner of the song more and more. Finally one day, when the prince came to the tower near, far away to see a witch standing under the tower, to the tower of the small window shouted, "Rapunzel, Rapunzel, let down your hair." The window then descended a golden hair braid. The witch climbed up the tower with the hair braid. The prince was very surprised and very happy that he finally found a way to climb the tower. So the next day, he also came to the tower, learning the voice of the witch shouted, "Rapunzel, Rapunzel, let down your hair." The window then descended a golden hair braid. The prince also climbed up the tower with the hair braid. When Rapunzel saw a strange man climbing up, she was shocked. But the prince immediately apologized to her, and told Rapunzel that he only wanted to know her so much that he did it, not intentionally to deceive her. And tell Rapunzel often listened to her singing in the neighborhood, has been fascinated by her singing voice. The prince told Rapunzel a lot of interesting things outside of the tower, and Rapunzel was therefore happy to compose a new song for the prince to hear. The two talked for a long time before the prince reluctantly left. The prince often came to Rapunzel afterwards to talk and chat, and the two got along more and more happily, and gradually fell in love. The prince also tried to ask Rapunzel to leave the tower, but Rapunzel knew that Mother Gothel does not trust outsiders, so she refused the prince, and did not dare to let Mother Gothel know that the prince came to the tower. But one day when Rapunzel pulled Mother Gothel's mother up to the tower, she inadvertently said, "The prince climbed much faster than Mother Gothel." The witch found out that Rapunzel let the stranger into the tower. She was very angry and scolded Rapunzel, and ruthlessly cut off Rapunzel's long hair, and then took Rapunzel back to her old home in the wilderness to live by herself. The day after Rapunzel was sent away, the prince came to the tower again and shouted, "Rapunzel, Rapunzel, let down your hair." At this time the witch tied the braids cut in the window hook to hang down. The prince climbed up with it. He did not see the beloved Rapunzel, but saw the witch who stared at him fiercely. The witch loudly and angrily scolded the prince. "You dare to seduce my Rapunzel? You know how much time and effort it took me to raise her." The prince tried to explain to the witch, but the witch did not accept the prince's words and thought that the prince only wanted to deceive Rapunzel and was not sincere at all. The prince did not know how to explain clearly to the witch. Thinking that he might never see Rapunzel again, he was sad and dizzy, accidentally fell from the window down the tower. He fell into the thorn bush, although not life-threatening, but his eyes were pierced, and his body was also cut all over the wound. Although his body hurts, his heart is more lost. He only wants to find the figure of Rapunzel, so he walked into the forest in a muddle. The prince walked in the forest without direction, feeling hungry to pick wild fruits to eat, feeling tired to find a hole in the tree to rest, so painfully passed several days. But one day, he suddenly heard a familiar song from afar. He went in that direction, and when he got closer, he found that it was Rapunzel he had been longing for. Rapunzel saw the prince suddenly appear, happily went forward and embraced him together. The two of them cried and laughed and told each other their feelings. The prince directly proposed to Rapunzel and tried to get the understanding of Mother Gothel, and then moved to the palace together and lived a happy life.